Well, when I took over, the intent was let's turn this round in a couple of years and then I'll go back to luxury hospitality. And what I've realized is once you build something from scratch, building a brand promise, um, when you start building something from where nothing existed, it becomes so much a part of you that it's hard to let go. And now I look back, I think it was one of the best things that ever happened to us.
Hunter Foods are no strangers to Dubai, having been one of the very first to secure a trade license inside the then-fledgling Jebel Ali Free Zone in 1985. The brands of Hunter immediately evoke nostalgia in those who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, with names like Safari, Aladdin, and Alibaba synonymous with the snack culture of our youth. But what's special about Hunter is that it has expanded far beyond our memories to become a cultural phenomenon in places as far-flung as the United States and Japan. Yas and Ananya Narayan did not initially aspire to take over the family business, but there is no doubt that their impact on Hunter Foods has been remarkable. From the now ubiquitous Hunter Gourmet offerings to collaborations with people like Pharrell Williams, Hunter is poised to create a whole new global wave of nostalgia for the next generation. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Homegrown DXB, the show taking you inside the lives of the people changing yours right here in Dubai. I'm your host, Omar Butti. And I'm so privileged to have with me on the show today, Jan and, of course, Ananya. Thank you so much for being with us here, the current CEOs and Managing Director of Hunter Food. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to talk all about the Hunter story. You guys are, of course, the stewards at the moment, but it has a long history, quite a long history here, that comes right after the founding of the UAE, if you look at it that way. Your father first arrived in 1974, I believe.
Yes, absolutely.
And he was actually brought here not to do Hunter Foods, but he was here for building materials and to help put together government housing with, of course, the late Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum. Worked very closely with His Highness. What have you heard about that time, those 10 years from 1974 up to just before the founding of Hunter Foods?
There's so many stories from that time, and some of it personal experiences that I remember. But Sheikh Rashid was so involved in the building of those houses and with everything that was happening within Dubai at the time. My father spent 2 hours a day with him every day, 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening, because he wanted to see what had happened during the night and what happened during the day. So he could see the daily progress in the houses that were being built.
And do you have any anecdotes that you heard or things that your father would relate to you about his experience, what Dubai was like at that time, obviously what it was like to work with Sheikh Rashid?
One of the things my father always said with Sheikh Rashid, if he said something that was as airtight as a contract. So it was just, he said it and then that's it. There was nothing else needed to be put in writing. One of the stories that I still remember, my father was late for a meeting with Sheikh Rashid. And Sheikh Rashid asked him what had happened. And he said he was waiting for the driver because he wasn't able to get there on time. And Sheikh Rashid said, well, don't you know how to drive? He said, yes, I do, but I'm still going through the driving license process. And things were simplistic enough at the time. Sheikh Rashid actually wrote his name on a piece of paper and gave it to my father and said, this is your driver's license till you get yours.
So I imagine, that was a pretty incredible time to be there, a world away from where we are today, obviously in the 70s into the early 80s. And I'm just curious sort of where I think the idea for Hunter came in. Now, of course, we think of it as iconic. We think about the Aladdin, Safari, Alibaba, the chips, the packaging is something that people very much associate with that era, with our youth. I still do. Did you have yourself a personal favorite character or flavor from that time?
Yeah, I think both would be the chili flavor. The chili was my personal favorite. And being a young boy, I liked the lion the best, named Chili.
I can understand that. Yeah, that makes sense. Jan, I want to bring you in as well now. You two, I think, met initially in Hong Kong, right?
Yes.
At the time, neither of you were working for Hunter, correct?
That's right. We weren't.
So how did you join the family business?
We met in Hong Kong when we were working together. We were working in the luxury hospitality industry.
Yeah, and I guess, what then drew you in to Hunter specifically?
I think if I look back, one day my mother-in-law called Ananya and says that my father-in-law's health was not doing so well. She really needed us to be back in Dubai to give her additional support. So I think Ananya, being the only son, being an Asian son, we decided to leave our jobs there and come back to Dubai. So as soon as we arrived back, I started working with my father-in-law. So I always joke that I joined the family business before Ananya, because after we came back, he was still, it's almost like you could take us out of luxury hospitality, but you cannot take luxury hospitality out of us. So he still wanted to be in this industry for a while, because we thought that was just temporary, right? We're just, we came back just to help the family, help our parents-in-law. But later on, I think about 10 years ago, 2014, both of us decided to join Hunter Foods full-time.
And then where did the shift come from, I guess? When did you say, okay, this is not something where we're just coming in temporarily to help out, steady things? When did you decide, no, this is something we're going to continue doing?
In 2013, the company was not doing so well. And there were two choices. One, let the company keep on a downward trend, or turn it around. And that's when Yan and I had a long chat, and we both got a lot more involved. I quit my job and joined Hunter Foods full time. And that's when we built the Hunter's Gourmet brand. And that was part of trying to do things our own way.
So tell me then about the Hunter's Gourmet brand. I read that some of the ideas came from your own personal experiences and travels and things of that nature. What made you decide to shift, I guess, the company from this tradition of the Aladdin and Alibaba, that sort of kind of packaging and look, to the gourmet?
Yeah, I think Hunter's Gourmet just resonate with us better. When we moved back, we're still very much involved in trying to make and sell and promote Safari, Aladdin, Alibaba as much as we could. But Dubai was changing very fast, and cost was also going up. And coming for both of us, coming from luxury hospitality, we love the global travel. We love the good side of life, and also it just resonates with us more. And Dubai has also been opening up. As we always say, Dubai, I think, becoming from gateway to the region to gateway to the world, and so a lot of getting more global, getting more worldly. So at that time we had two quite young children. We wanted to, of course, with them you have to pack their snack boxes, pack their snacks all the time. And at that time there were not a lot of healthier, better for you snacks options. And then we're in the snack food business. So that why can't we make snacks better? To start with our own kids. And if we're hesitant to give them these, then we should be hesitant to give to anyone. And the other thing is that my father-in-law was diabetic. So every meal time it was quite or all throughout the day, were just a lot of discussions around what he should snack, what he shouldn't. And so this better for you, more on better ingredients, better quality, better packaging. And also at the same time, we were coming from our international education, international travel. We said, why can't we make something that from Dubai, from this region, but benchmark around the best of the best? It doesn't have to look made here, but looks local. It can made here, but look just as good as anywhere else. And so that's why a lot of people until today, looking at Hunter's Gourmet, looking at the packaging, look at the products, and still wonder, is this really from Dubai? And it's very much from Dubai.
I think it's incredible. I mean, and you can see that today, obviously, with you guys are in 65 countries, if I'm not mistaken, something of that nature. And I want to get to sort of the global reach and the impact in a second. But I want to, since we're on the topic of Hunter Gourmet, you have very interesting flavors, right? You have things like foie gras, I think the tandoori, smoky tandoori, wasabi, obviously the black truffle that is arguably probably the most famous. Who's the mastermind who's coming up with these flavors?
I think a lot of it starts with the two of us, but then we've got the broader new product development team. And I think it comes back to the travels and coming from hospitality. And we've tried to bring a bit of hospitality into the FMCG industry. And I think it is looking at some of those more unique flavors and doing things a little bit different. Thinking about the chefs and thinking about how being trained in these hotels, what are the sort of flavors one would want in the meals, in the menus that we were developing. Now, how do we bring those menus into our chips, into the flavors of those chips? And we've tried to do just that and bring a lot of those global flavors. So whether it is the wasabis or the quattro formaggi or a smokehouse barbecue, the truffle collection, it's really bringing a lot of those flavors which are from the different menus, but now into our world of packaged chips.
How do you know if you have a winner? Like, how do you, when you're doing your testing or your sort of the conceptualization phase to like actually being like, yes, we should mass produce this?
In the beginning, it was a lot on gut. Over time, as we've been growing, it's been tougher to do that. Now we do a lot more market research within the company, outside the company, to really look at what's the customer feedback. So yes, we have a hunch when we try to develop some of those flavors, but before we launch, we do look at the customer feedback.
So what is it like working with family? Obviously, you two are married. You run a company together, which, marriage is hard enough, right? But, that could be a challenging thing. How do you then manage the personal, the professional, delegate who does what at the company? Do you have any advice for people who might want to get into business with their spouse?
My advice is that it's not something. It definitely is possible because we're working together as a couple. It is. I think for the advice wise, it's more fun, but it's also more challenging. I think it's definitely this. You always have a confidant. You always have somebody next to you, goes through the same thing with you, understands exactly why you're happy or why you're sad, knows the daily grinds. But at the same time, because of that, you also have to have a lot of more understanding, practicing a lot of more discipline, compartmentalize family matters, business matters, and also not just about say, because you're my husband, you're my wife, you're my brother, you're my father, but more to say at that particular occasion or situation scenario, we're also holding professional roles and responsibilities within the business. So I think, it's
and how do you delegate then? So, obviously when you guys first joined, as I said, you were the first employee of the two of you, right? How did you decide, who would sort of take on what parts of the business when you guys first came in together?
I think when we came in at the first was more of naturally gravitating towards what we're good at and what we're passionate about. And because when we came in to the business, there were not so much of know-hows, like today. You can Google, you can chat GPT, you can, and there's so many resources. At that time, we just went into the business just as with the pure passion and commitment and commitment to the family, commitment to ourselves, that we just got to make everything work. So a lot of entrepreneurial spirit there, and just like a lot of grits. I think, but over the time, I think I'm more towards packaging, new product development, and sustainability, and Ananya more on the operations, strategic sales and strategic development, sales and marketing, and finance. So, yeah. But if you asked me this question earlier, I would have said we should have just sit down and properly, systematically, dissect the business, rather than just went in there and just whatever we could do, because it's when we went in, as Ananya said, the business was at a low point. So it just, whatever it takes, we were just doing anything, everything to turn the business around.
Well, I mean, considering where you guys are today, it seems like even if you feel like the method maybe could have been different, it worked, right? you made it all come together. For you, Ananya, what do you remember then from your I guess early days coming in? You obviously, we understand that you had wanted to be in the luxury sector. That was maybe more where you saw yourself. Now you're here. I'm curious both sort of how you feel now, obviously it's about 10 years on from that decision, if you feel like actually this was what was meant to be, if you still were kind of like, well, maybe I'll go back to luxury at some point. What were those early days like, and sort of how do you feel about it now?
Well, when I took over, the intent was, let's turn this around in a couple of years and then I'll go back to luxury hospitality. And what I've realized is, once you build something from scratch, building a brand promise, when you start building something from where nothing existed, it becomes so much a part of you that it's hard to let go. And now I look back, I think it was one of the best things that ever happened to us.
Well, that's fantastic. Are there any specific memories you have early on during that initial scramble where you weren't sure who was doing what or what you should do? Again, you said no Google, no resources. You were kind of figuring things out one day at a time. Any specific memories you have from that period, things that maybe you would have done differently, or things that you were impressed that you knew how to do?
Something we would have done differently, we went a lot based on passion. And there were a lot of things which we tried to bring in from our experience in hotels, and whether it was trying so many different products and without doing enough market research and seeing how big was the size of the prize. And we just went in there and said, no, I think this can work, based on the gut feel. And if we could go back, we would re-look at some of those numbers to say, look, is the size of the prize big enough, especially in this market, based on the size of the market. In a place like the US, it's easier to go to something more niche, but here you do need a scalable enough idea.
So talking about, I guess, scaling up, which you have done, and also to what you were alluding to, yes, previously, I should say, which is that this is very much a homegrown Dubai brand. That's something you're very proud of, and maybe people still ask you if it, it really is, because it looks, a certain way, has a certain sleekness about it. What is it that you think, to your mind, having now been in the business for a long time, that makes Dubai a good place to grow a brand, to have a homegrown brand, to build a business?
I think looking at the growth journey of Hunter's Gourmet, right now we do a lot of mentoring as well. And I tell people that if your brand can work in Dubai, it probably could work anywhere, because in such a small place, you have almost 200 nationalities. And we all know it's very difficult to please everybody, please all. And you could still make your products work. So I think it's very good. It's a very good testing ground and tasting ground for us. The other thing is that there are a lot of visitors as well. So it's a beautiful show window to the world. They come to Dubai, they see your products, and they say, you know what? I don't have them at home. I want them. So they, things will just happen. I think that's why I think our footprints have just been spreading around the globe, is because people say, I came to Dubai on holiday, I tried the chips, and I couldn't find them back at home. I wanted them, and so here we go. I want to be a distributor. So I think in that sense, that from a branding perspective, I think the multinationality, multicultural, and also the gateway, the window to showcase what we could do here. I think those opportunities are amazing. And of course, I think Ananya always talk about, I think JAFZA as well. And then I think the port, I think we really need to address that, because I think you probably could add on to more of that.
Well, you were one of the first people there, right? With one of the first licenses in JAFZA?
Yeah, we were licensed number 008, but we were the first building in JAFZA. But one of the things which has really helped us is the connectivity and the location of where Dubai is, and the connectivity in terms of logistics. Because snacks, to make things work, we are as much in the logistics business as we are in the foods business. Because to be able to serve the world, the logistics have to work. And from Dubai, the logistics work. And it has enabled us really for the growth we've had.
So you have the logistics, as you said, and you have people who come and are inspired. They try the product. But how do those actual specific distribution deals happen? So, how do you get from from starting obviously just UAE to a handful of countries and now to 65? How do you decide which territories to go into? Is it something that's very organic? Do you look at a map and say, we need to go here next? So how is that decision-making process done?
So a lot of it has been based on, it comes back to what's a large enough market, what is cost effective to be able to ship there, and who would our products appeal to. So it's got to have, there are quite a few factors, but those are three of the important factors, because we have to be cost effective in getting there. We have to be liked enough for the demand to be there. And the size of the prize has to be large enough. So we do look at some of those and start focusing on which markets work, and that's what we've prioritized.
So I don't know, I read this somewhere, tell me if I'm correct or not, that you are like a top 5 snack in Japan, is that correct, or something one of the more popular snacks in Japan? And Japan is well known for its snacking culture, for its convenience and all those things. Yeah. How did that happen? Again, was that like a targeted strategy? Was that organic? Were you surprised to find that you guys were so popular there? That people were actually traveling to Japan to have Hunter snacks and then finding out they're actually from the UAE? Tell me about sort of that success.
I think just continue with what Ananya said, that once we consider all those factors, especially the 3 and more, we realize that our competitive advantage is quite pronounced in Asia. We're also in Asia, but more of say Korea, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Philippines, Thailand. So these are countries really work for us. First of all, they have a snacking culture. Second of all, because of the global influence, they do like potato chips. And the flavors, also the logistics work for us. When the chips land there, the price has to be competitive enough. Of course, for Japan, I think there was a lot of, we've always been, when we advise people, say, if you can make it in Dubai, you can make it anywhere. But for us, when we were starting this, because we have lived in Hong Kong for so many years, and Japan has such a high standard of quality. Like, they're so particular, so detail-oriented. And we keep telling ourselves, if we can make it in Japan, we can make it anywhere. So Japan has always been one of those, I think, prizes for us. And it's almost a challenge, personal challenge. It's like, we're going to make it in Japan. And I think, of course, coming back to my father-in-law, he also always wanted to make in Japan. And one of our last conversations with him is we were promising him that, Kaku, we're going to be good. We're going to be successful in Japan. So I think all those, but of course, the packaging, So the black canister with the gold is very distinctive, very different from what they have there. And black truffle chips, of course, cause a craze. At one point, they actually have to have a rule that per person, per pack, per store, I think in 2022, because I think Japanese have, of course, the flavor umami came from Japan. So with the black truffle, the umami is just such a kind of a match made in heaven. So yeah, so that's our Japan story.
I mean, of course, the Japanese are not the only fans of black truffle. I also saw the viral video from Pharrell Williams, as a fan, and then obviously your marketing team picked up on it. It was very funny. Again, what was that something that you maybe not expected, but like, what was the reaction to that, I guess, in the office? How did you guys sort of deal with that sort of thing? Have you had other celebrities also sort of shout out to Hunter?
It was something which came to us by surprise. We came in one morning and we saw that video and we were like, is that real? It was nothing that we knew of. It's nothing we had planned. It was completely unsolicited. But it was him trying a can of our chips and giving his feedback on video. We've had a few other celebrities, especially Korean soap opera stars and others.
It's a pretty good pool to be promoting it right now, right? K-drama is huge.
Absolutely. Right. So it's not been as formal, but there are all of these different videos out there of people cleaning up the stores in Thailand or other destinations of our crisps. So it's one of the things that really inspire us to keep going. It really charges us up, and it's a great feeling when we get to see those clips.
I mean, it strikes me, I know you talked a little bit about, sort of working as husband and wife, working with family, working with your father-in-law, but that, you two are obviously very passionate about the business, and that you came in with a lot of passion, you said, but also, a lot of responsibility, right? Because you felt like this is a family business, this is something where we're carrying on a legacy, a brand, it means something to us, it means something to other people. And I'm wondering how much of that you think is sort of instrumental to Hunter's success, because I note that your father and I think your mother also worked in the company at a time. Obviously, so you had a husband and wife, now another husband and wife, carrying on that legacy. How much do you think that sort of personal, familial relationship is instrumental to Hunter's success?
I think, when you're so vested and you're putting everything into it, there's no other way than to make it work. And initially, that's what it was. We just needed it to work. And we put in everything we had to do that. Now, over time, you start thinking and strategizing more. At that time, you just do. You just do whatever it takes to make things work. Because that's a responsibility on the shoulder at that time. So there was no two ways. There was only one way to go. And that's what we had to do.
Jan, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think in addition to what Ananya said about those, perseverance, resilience, and believe in what we do, what we could do, and also believe in the product. We really feel that our products really addressing certain needs from the market, from the consumers, whether it's from children, whether it's from adults. We all have to snack. When we snack, we want to snack better. At that time, maybe 10 years ago, it was quite a little bit of a foreign concept. But right now, after COVID, if you look at the society, people say, you know what? When I snack, I want to snack better. And then that's what we kind of believed even 10 years ago, is that how could we make our products better every step of the way, whether it's a process, whether it's ingredients, whether it's a packaging. So, it's what we put in our mouth. It's a very personal thing. So we have to be responsible and we have to make it better. And then this is only a journey. There's no end. So that's why we started with potato, and then we move on to vegetable, we move on to quinoa, we move on to rice. So it's just like, if this is a belief that you can make things better, making snacking better, then there's no limit to it.
Well, I mean, following on from better, and I think that slogan of itself, right, is indicative of the personal touch. The way the product looks is indicative of your personal touch. But there's beyond making snacking better or food better. There's also, I think, inherent in the brand making the world better, right? Conservation, I think, was very, very important. Again, to your late father, continues to be important to the brand. He had his Annie Pals initiative, way back when, which has its own history. I'm kind of curious sort of where that tradition of conservation came from, the Annie Pals sort of program, if you have any memories about it, and how that continues today.
Well, my father was named and grew up around Mahatma Gandhi, and a lot of the principles of Mahatma Gandhi were things that he believed in very much, and so for him, it was never really about running a business, making money out of it. It was more about education, about teaching. And he spent more time on the Annie Pals newsletter than he did almost on any other part of the business, because that was really personal to him. And it's something that really mattered. And he wanted to educate the kids about water conservation. He wanted to teach the kids about wildlife preservation.
How many kids did he have, at its peak from Annie Pals?
It was about 5,000 to 6,000 Annie Pals.
That he was sending the letters out to?
Yes, and he answered...
And he did it himself?
So there was a person in charge of the program, but any of the letters answered by Safari Uncle, which he was known as, he actually wrote the answers himself, every single one. And each of those cartoons and each of those messages, he came up with himself. So it was something very personal to him, and that really mattered. And that feedback from the children really mattered to him a lot. So we used to have these annual year-end parties at Al Nasser Leisureland. And that's when all the Annie Pals would come and meet, and that was the highlight of the year for him.
How is conservation then manifest today with Hunter?
I'll actually let Yan.
Oh, please, Yan.
Answer.
Yeah, we're just building a state-of-the-art new factory. It should be open next year. And in this new factory, definitely solar panel, water management, especially wastewater usage. We will use because when you're washing potatoes, you use a lot of water. And so we also try to clean the water using it for the greenery around the factory. We also harvest the potato protein and give it to the certain industry partners who can use them. There is also the oil that we used will turn into a biodiesel to run the trucks that would deliver our chips. So there are a lot of these little and big sustainability commitments that we put into the new factory. I think for us, better for you, not just, it's really should be omnipresent. It's not just about our products, not just about our packaging, like I said, ingredients, also about our employees, our Hunter Foods family, and also about environment, immediate environment, and then of course you take it on to the world, to the earth. So definitely sustainability is not just for us to check on the CSR requirement, but really having this new factory to manifest our beliefs of our brand promise.
So speaking then of those beliefs, do you guys have some basic guiding principles for business that you follow, whether it's Hunter, whether it's just as individuals? I'm just sort of curious, what people's code is for how to do business.
I think a lot of it is about, it's not what we do, but it's a lot on how we do it. And we've realized is at times just as important, if not more important, than what we do. So doing things ethically, doing things what we believe is right, is extremely important. I would rather not have the business if we're not doing it the right way, even if it's making a lot of money. If we're going to do whatever we're doing, we've got to do it based on the right values, the right principles, which comes back to the better for you. And we have to do better for everyone around us, whether it's a partner, employee, supplier, anyone. We have to be better, and that's really important.
So seeing again, as you are a family business, now 2 generations of husband and wife, would you want your children to get involved in the business?
We actually talk about this, and we came into the business not really by choice at the beginning, but right now it will be by choice. So we also wanted to give that choice to our children. If they wanted to join the business, then of course the arrangements will be made. But if they don't, then very welcome for them to pursue their own happiness, their own goals in lives. And I just want to go back to your previous question. It feels like I'm doing another name dropping because we just did about Mahatma Gandhi. My father-in-law, grew up, and his name was given by Mahatma Gandhi, which means India, Bharat. But when his father was going around the world after Gandhi passed away and spreading Gandhiism, Gandhian economics, during that trip, he actually met Mr. Albert Einstein. And he took out his diary and he gave it to Mr. Einstein. He said, if you have a message for India, for the world, what would that be? Could you please write in my diary? And so Mr. Albert Einstein handwriting a message, and this is the message right now that has becoming our guiding light and has become our inspiration for the brand promise Better For You. He wrote, nothing is more important to man than man. And if you think about it, like, nothing is more important to man than man. That means we have to do the best we could possibly do for each other. And so I think that is such a profound message. It's so simple. There's no difficult word in it. We understand it perfectly. But when you think about it, it just has layers and layers of meaning. And I think that's what right now is written in our corporate office and in our new factory. We're going to really make it really clear, loud, and big out there, is because nothing is more important to man than man. And that has to be, and has been, and will be the things that guide our business practice and our daily lives.
Well, fantastic. I mean, it's such a lovely sentiment. And I think, again, it shows with the business, it shows with your attitude and sort of how you approach everything you do. Just to sort of wrap things up for us, for this fantastic conversation. So what's next for Hunter then in your mind? What are you guys looking forward to? Obviously, you have the factory, which is great news. But what else do you see in terms of Hunter's ambitions?
I think our ambition is taking gourmet chips to the world from Dubai and having the best, the most premium, better for you chips brand in the world be from Dubai. And
Sorry, go ahead.
And I think there's no better time. If you had said having that sort of a vision 10 years ago, it might have been a lot tougher. Today, I think it is very much doable. And we are really going to be working actively to do just that.
Well, it feels like you already have to an extent, right? Jan, anything you want to add?
I think I really want to own that name, Dubai Chips.
Well, there's room. No one has it. You can have Dubai chips there, and no one will be confused where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
Well, Ananya, Jan, thank you so much for being with us on Homegrown DXB. It was such a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you.